Hey guys and gals, this is Oki Poker Traveler here, and I'm starting to do the poker blog thing again to uh, show some of the uh, poker training that I utilize. And I'm starting with the Advanced Poker Training site because this is probably my go-to for really grinding out, uh, practicing, improving my poker skills. Uh, the reason for that is the many different resources that are available on the site, starting with the exceptional poker simulators that they offer. They offer poker simulators for 9 max cash, 6 max cash, heads up situations, both cash and tournament, your sit and goes, your multi table tournaments, as well as final table simulators. And they have a couple other cool little features here that you can use to uh, help improve your poker play as well. We'll go through the tabs here real quick since we're just going to do an overview of the site today, and we'll continue this series going into more detail regarding uh, advanced poker training. But basically, what I want to show you on the site are the major features. You have quick links down here that kind of show you what the major features are. So uh, you have a training plan that is created every week from the training that you do within any of the simulated games. You have reports that you can look at, again, directly related to the simulated games that you play. The weekly challenge is a good little practice to utilize for particular spots or situations. And then, some different resources that are in addition to uh, your primary resources that you're going to be using a lot, which are the training plan and the reports, as well as the simulators. Uh, so Advanced Poker Training also offers a cool little competition every month. Starts the first of the month, called the Madness Cup, and it's essentially kind of a heads up bracket type tournament. You're going to play a certain number of hands, um, and you're going to try to get the best profit that you can in those number of hands. And if your profit is better than your opponent, then you win. I believe it's if you lose more than two times or twice or more, then you're out of the tournament. Your tools and games tab, you got different poker tools that you can utilize when you're both playing, or maybe if you're playing uh, live or online, you can every once in a while take a break, go to these tools, see what kind of uh, how well you're doing, if you're playing your hands uh, correctly as far as from an odds perspective, or a hand chart perspective. Should you be playing these hands in these positions and whatnot. And these are pretty basic charts, so you're going to see these charts, not just on Advanced Poker Training, but their training resources. But what you will get in Advanced Poker Training that I like a lot when you're playing any of the simulated games is the ability to play against GTO style opponents. And when you're playing against GTO style, you can play against different levels of skill for GTO, and of course, if you play the hardest, these guys are going to be the most balanced type of players. You play again different blind levels from 1-2 to 10-20. So we can start with 2-5. Let's say I want to practice my 2-5. So also, I believe 800 is my maximum I can bring into this table. I'd like it to be more, but for whatever reason they cap it at that much. That's okay. We can also, if we're playing really good players, they're probably going to be more aggressive than normal in most cases. So we want to put that. And once you get all of your settings correct, you can start play. Now you also have advisors that you can utilize, which is really cool. The site has about 10 different types of advisors. So you can choose, let's say this guy's optimal. So let's choose the optimal poker player. And you can choose when you see the advice. All right. You press the advice button, you get the advice, or at every decision point. So if you're just starting off playing poker and you want to, get some advice every time you make a decision, you should utilize that. Also, as you go along, you might advance to only give advice when you do something different than what the advisor might do. But for most poker players who have experience, pressing the advice button is probably the best way to go. So again, what I wanted to show here real quick is when you start a game and you're playing against different opponents and you see this opponent raises in the button. You have a really good hand here. You're probably going to raise or at the very least call. But what you can see is what is their raising range on the button. And you're going to see these charts, range charts, that I can pretty much guarantee you are GTO and are very accurate. So again, if you're a new player and you're wondering what to do when the button is aggressive and it's just you and the button to play, you click on the advice and the advice is going to say, well, let's raise. Let's see if this guy is just trying to steal the blinds and we have a hand strong enough to defend. So we're going to go ahead and raise it up. We're going to raise it up to $45. And he folds, so he was probably playing the lower end of his range. All right, so ask you if you want to save your results. We're going to say no. We want to exit. Okay, we'll say yes then. We're going to quit and save and go back to our tabs. So tools and games again. The social tab, what I would probably focus on here are the blogs, your webinars, your weekly challenge, and those three pretty much exclusively. Here is what I would consider the heart of advanced poker training and the part of advanced poker training that's going to provide you the details and feedback that every poker player requires. Your reports are going to provide you different types of reports, graphs, performance for the hands that you've played. So these are going to be the recommended hands. How did you perform playing the recommended hands? Your worst and best three hands that you played within the recommended hands. And then also your complete hand selection. So you played uh, all of the hands in white are going to be the correct hands. Okay. Uh, the hands that you maybe should have played that didn't. So right now I don't have any of those. I'm usually pretty um, knowledgeable of what those charts are and try to stick to them. But every once in a while you might get in a situation where you want to play uh, hands that are not within the range. And this is going to happen sometimes when you're playing against uh, weaker opponents or you're playing against loose opponents. And then the hands that are not played. And of course, it says that's correct. You shouldn't be playing those hands. All right. Um, Also, how did you do from each position? Okay. And this is going to be fairly typical for a lot of players. You're going to realize your equity more in later positions, the button and the cutoff. Uh, this is a little bit odd, but it's okay. I'm realizing my equity in those late positions, and that's what you want to do. You can also look at skill, and these are going to be different skill items that uh, you will want to focus on to improve your game. It's going to let you know if you're within recommended ranges or outside of recommended ranges, and I wouldn't worry a great deal if you're outside of the recommended range by a little bit either way, but it still will be an indication that maybe you need to plug a leak. But a lot of times, some of these skills that might be outside of a recommended range, it could be because you're playing your practice uh, games are played against possibly uh, less skilled opponents, looser opponents that are going to call more, and maybe passive loose opponents that are going to call more and fold to a raise, or play hands that are not or should not be played. Uh, so a lot of different skills there to look at and to keep track of. So yes, I have several of them in the red, and I'm working on as much of those as I can. One of those, probably the most important, being how often do you win at Showdown? 42% is never good. You want to be above 50% if you want to be a profitable poker player. You can also look at luck factors. These are going to be different types of hands and how lucky you are with them. My overall is a little better than average, so uh, doing pretty good. And then you have the hand analysis, which is going to give you an indication of the hands that you played correctly, incorrectly. So hands that won the most big blinds, hands that lost the most big blinds, and it's going to show you the top 5 of those hands. But you can go ahead and search all the hands, and it's going to go to your hand report essentially. And bear with me. Doesn't look like that's working right now. Well, okay. We'll go back to this later. But basically, you're gonna be able to see um, how you played certain hands, and you can go back and you can review those. All right, so that's your reports. So if you play over 1,000 hands in a week, you're going to get a weekly training plan. So you're going to get a weekly training plan for any and all situations, types of games that you play more than 1,000 hands in 1 week. So I would definitely recommend, playing all of those different situations if you're going to be a well-rounded poker player. And I would also, recommend, depending on which types of games you play most, to balance your number of hands that you play for those types of games. So if you play six max a lot, six max cash, um, you should be playing probably uh, 5 to 10,000 hands a week of six max if that's your primary game that you play. If you like to play multi-table tournaments, again, 5 to 10,000 hands a week of multi-table tournaments. Um, Final table trainer. If you want to get to a final table, you need to know, optimal play at a final table. And if you play 5 to 10,000 hands in the final table simulator, I think you're going to get pretty good at final table play. As a matter of fact, I wanted to show you this real quick. One of the coaches, or he may have been a former coach, um, that used to be a coach for this site is Kiwin, and he is the 2016 WSOP World Champion. Of course, he states that he used the advanced poker training, to prepare him for that WSOP final table. So if this can prepare a WSOP champion to win that championship, I think it can prepare you to be a better poker player. All right, so you also have your saved hands, and within your saved hands, you have the filters here that you can look at all the different types of hands that you played, different types of situations, different games, different blind levels, uh, those different tables that you may have played. So if you're playing the human opponents, that'll be those first 10 or 15. Then the last 10 are going to be your GTO type tables. You can look at positions, how you played in different positions, and then if you tagged any hands, you can look at the hands that you've tagged. You can also look at your different areas of the tournaments that you played. So if you're struggling maybe in the early stages or at the bubble, then this will give you an idea of what you're doing wrong and how you can improve it. Different players, 6 max, 9 max, date ranges, all kinds of good stuff here. Similarly, in the saved sessions, you can filter those into the different type of games that you play. So essentially I've played 78,000 hands total on the site. And here's a link back to the saved hands. Ah, actually 81,000. Maybe I was filtering something that I didn't need to be filtering. Nope, no filters. Anyway, so also this provides you training plans for uh, for your hand sessions. So if you've played it within a training plan, then it won't be eligible to create a training plan. But we'll look into that later as well. So your resources are going to show you different information you can utilize to improve your game from the different folks who are involved with the site. Leaderboards are going to be for the different types of games, simulated games. So if you play a lot, you might be able to jump up to the top of the leaderboard. Show you your big blinds per 100 that you've won. Okay. You can also look at, this is pretty cool, the training plan articles. So if I want to look at these MTTs, look at the different articles and videos that they have for these certain items. And these are the items that are going to show up within your training plan each week. Of course, not all of them are going to show up. The ones that you need to focus on are going to be added to your training plan each week. And that brings us back to our reports and our weekly training plan. So this is going to be kind of a focus. It comes out on Sunday, and so what you'll want to do is jump in here on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, whenever you decide to start your training, and read the synopsis of what the issue is and what you need to do to correct that issue, and then fire off your training. Now, if you notice, it provides you 50 hands to play. It says play 50 hands in the early stage of a tournament. Well, after you're done with those 50 hands, I would highly recommend going back into this training or duplicating this training within your simulated game, because you can do this. I want to play an MTT. I can go in here and say I'm in practice mode. All right. So if I'm in practice mode, it's going to let me change all of these items down here. Okay. And I can, for instance, say, well, I really want to play, since I'm playing an online turbo low stakes, I'm probably going to be playing against folks that are more passive than normal. Okay, so I'm going to change that. And I also want to, for instance, enter a custom early stage of the tournament. Okay, so this is going to be the training that I was just on prior, and now I can play as many hands as I want. I don't have to stop at 50 hands. This is going to allow me to play 250, 500 hands if I want to, 1,000 hands if I want to, of this one position, and that helps you get really good. All right, so again, don't stop at just the number of hands that they recommend for each of these. You might you might want to stop maybe at the recommended number for this uh, stuff that is lower, maybe lower priority. But I would honestly recommend, 250 to 500 hands for each one of these practice items. You know, again, remembering what the details of the practice items are and replicating them within your simulated games. All right. So we looked at the different resources, right? And we'll go into those later. The leaderboards we looked at. We'll look at this information in later videos. And of course, they'll have information on how you can contact them. They're the coaches. You can become an affiliate. They have different partner sites that you can check out. The instructional videos are good to look at before and while you're utilizing the site. But again, if you stick with this series that I'm gonna start, then you'll get a chance to see how it's utilized by a real live poker player. And these partner courses, some of these are, you have to pay for them in a lot of cases, but if you decide to get the lifetime elite membership, those courses are going to come with it. So you're going to get some really good training on top of some additional really good training for one low price. And as you can see, that price is going to be highly competitive across the spectrum of poker training from other poker training sites. Very competitive. I would say if you utilize this resource correctly and you jump in with me from time to time, I can help teach you how to utilize it correctly. Your poker game is going to improve dramatically. If you have any questions or would like to reach out to me, I'll leave my contact information down in the comments. And thanks for watching.